Well, here we are. And I might as well just get this out of the way right now. I am about to offend many of you.
And here we go.
The tagline that you hear me use on this channel all the time is that this is RPG Elite. This is a place where I focus on putting RP back into RPG. How I do that is by giving you tools, tips, tutorials, and real talk about the tabletop RPG space and culture so that you can have a more immersive and enjoyable tabletop RPG experience. That's my tagline. I mean every bit of it. But when I talk about these sensitive, uncomfortable topics, and I talk about them the way that I'm going to talk about them, because the way I talk about them triggers people. Because I do that, people come to the channel, and some people, they get offended. Others, however, come here and that's what they're drawn to. They're drawn to that, what, spicy topic, drama type of stuff. Then they think that this is what this channel is about. This channel is not about that. I address these topics in the way that I address them because this is who I am. And I talk about them this way on purpose. There's a reason why I do that. It's not just to trigger people, because this is the times in which we live. It wouldn't matter how I said it, it's gonna trigger you anyway. So I might as well just say it how I would say it. And then y'all can get mad if you want. That is your prerogative. Because I handle these topics in that way, I give a disclaimer. And that disclaimer is that this will trigger you. You will feel uncomfortable and I will say things that will offend you. Now, if you cannot handle that, then you need to ixnay yourself from this video right now, because the vast majority of my content on here is about geeking out about the tabletop RPG hobby, man. Mechanics, tools, and tips, and books, and all the rest of that stuff. This is what the vast majority of this channel is about. Mindset. So you can have a more immersive and enjoyable tabletop RPG experience. But you have to touch on these subjects because, well, they're here. So when I do these videos like this, these real talk videos, I don't just like to present problems. You have some channels out there that's all they do. They cry, whine, moan, and complain about the stuff, and there are never any solutions. Not me. If I'm going to do this, it's going to be giving you a solution. And again, my videos are few and far between. Part one of this video was what? December. It is the end of February in 2024. It was at the beginning, somewhere in the beginning of December is when I did part one. So all in between there was a whole bunch of other than geeky stuff. See, that's how I like to space this stuff out, because my channel is not about that. But when I do address this stuff, you can best believe that somebody is going to cry about what it is that I'm saying. Now, I am persuaded that the majority of people don't want to be in this nonsense all the time. They just want to, my mantra, play the game. And I feel you, and I'm with you right there. We right here. I feel you, because that's what I want to do. And that's why the vast majority of the 200, almost 300 videos that I have on this channel is about tutorials and stuff like that. But we got to be here, because if we don't, then the minority, who seems to be the loudest and the only ones who are getting the attention, and now have become the inmates who are running the asylum, you got to address it for that reason alone. So let's get down to brass tacks, and let's get down to the massive multiple problems with the dark idea of safety tools in tabletop RPGs. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, because maybe you've been away, maybe you just never even heard what the heck is safety tools. I was reading the comments from the last video, and there were some people who didn't even know that this stuff existed. And it's just unnecessary, because all safety tools are a boogeyman that's being created so that other people can virtue signal because of their own weaknesses. I told you, did I not just tell you that I was going to trigger you and offend you? But that's really what it is at the end of the day. And they come in different forms. They come in the form of the X card. They come in the form of, lines and veils. And they come in the form of stars and garters or whatever else. You will hear these terms. The X card is probably the most popular. And let me just say real quick how that's supposed to work. So there's an X card. The X card's put in the middle of the table, right? And if you guys are going through something as far as content during the session and somebody feels, oh, they don't feel so comfortable with it, then they put their hand on the X card. And so the GM is supposed to skip over that content because that one person don't feel comfortable. And if another person feels uncomfortable about something, then they put their hand on the X card and then the GM is supposed to skip over that content. On and on and on. And now they say that, well, a lot of people don't usually use it like that, and it is never used at all. It's just good that it's there. No, it's not. It's not good that it's there. And here are the reasons why it's not good that it's there. First and foremost, it just takes control away from the GM. The GM is supposed to adjudicate, mediate, facilitate. Not anymore. Can't do that now, because now that's being taken away and pawned off on the players, who are now, like I said, running everything because of a safety tool, because of, well, I don't know why. Well, I guess it would be because they feel unsafe. And then my question would be, okay, unsafe how? Like, what exactly is unsafe about the game? Like, what do you need to be protected from? Safe from what? Let me ask that question. Safe from what? Are we talking about mental trauma? There's going to be an actual scar that happens if some content comes through that they don't like? Is this what we're talking about? Or are we really talking about just feeling uncomfortable about something? Not actual harm, trauma, and tragedy, but feeling uncomfortable about something and wanting to control the situation. See, actually what you're doing with those, quote, safety, unquote, tools is really you are killing the relationship between the GM and the players, because what it says is that we don't trust you. We do not trust you, and so we need this in order to feel good and to keep you in line. And the GM that uses that stuff is saying, you're right, I can't be trusted. And you're putting that down and you're starting the relationship on an untrustworthy foundation. Isn't that great? That's a great way to start off your relationship in a tabletop RPG. And that's why it's bad to have that. It kills the whole spirit of forming a trustworthy bond and relationship between you and the players without having to have some kind of intermediary in between. But there's more. Because you're using these tools and you're pawning off the responsibility on the players, then it really is just saying that you as a GM don't have a backbone to adjudicate, mediate, and facilitate what's going on at that table when that's your job. It's always been that way. In the 50 plus years that has been tabletop RPGs, that is what it's been. This is, again, creating a boogeyman that is not there. And so you overcorrect with something as insidious and dark as safety tools. Now, why am I saying insidious and dark? Let's talk about that. I was reading the comments in the last video in the series, and there were some people who were like, well, this has ties to BDSM. And I'm like, oh man, y'all going crazy. That was my first reaction. I was like, okay, y'all tripping now, right? But then in doing research for this video, I actually put safety tools in because I wanted to do some research and see the opposing views on these things. And guess what came up? Like a long line of stuff. Yeah, BDSM. And I'm like, what? So I had to put in RPG at the end for the long tail keyword in order to filter through that stuff. I found that interesting. As I'm reading these articles where have opposing views, I'm reading this one article and it's saying that, you know, those who complain at your table who are against safety tools, they're automatically considered toxic. So if I voice my concerns about safety tools and how they're not good, automatically I'm considered toxic. All right, so that's the playing field that we're on. Okay, well, if that's the case, then apparently, whether it was on purpose or not, being the whole safety tools terminology and everything seems to be tied to something that is depraved and debauched. So should I be calling you depraved and debauched because you are a champion of this thing that's tied to something that is actually depraved and debauched? Should we do that? Now, I don't know whether or not that's the place where they got it from. I have no idea. However, there seems to be some validity and at least circumstantial evidence that just may be the case. Why in the world would you want to have that in your tabletop RPG? Now, some people will be like, well, safety tools is, normally for use when you're going to a convention. I mean, that's what, okay. They're not needed, not required, and I'm getting ready to tell you why in the solution. Now, before we get into this, guys, I'm going to let you know, this is the RPG Elite way, though the first part of this should be anybody. But I'm going to outline the full RPG Elite process on how to have no safety tools whatsoever and never even mention it for your tabletop RPG and grab the complete spirit of what it means to be at the table when you're playing. All right. So the first thing that would need to be done is the GM needs to write down all of the details of what is going to be going on in this campaign, mini adventure, one shot, whatever. You need to outline all that stuff for everybody. So when are you going to be playing? How frequent are you going to be playing? What's the theme? What's the mood? What's the rating? I always like to give it a rating like a movie, right? It is PG, it is PG-13, and we're going to be covering this theme, that theme, that theme. Right? I lay all of that stuff out ahead of time. So you should do that first. And then you should come to the table with the players to discuss it. Isn't that something? That's a novel idea. And the reason why you do that is because everybody at the table you are treating as adults who make decisions. Not as kids putting their hand on a card because they feel uncomfortable about something no. We're going to have a discussion about this first, like adults. Now, if you don't have any players to have discussions with, then you're going to have to go to the next part, which is you have an interview process. Now, for me, I always have a right-hand man. He's been my guy. He's been with me for over a decade. And with him, we're right here, right? And I have him involved on the interviews. Like we're going through interviews. If he has questions he's going to ask, I'll let him ask him. Now, why is that? Because he's the one that's going to have to play with these people. And then if there's other players also who, I play with for a long amount of time, not only is he the only one, but there's others who have come in and I say, hey, if you want to be on the interview, you're more than welcome to come. They come in and ask questions to the person who's being interviewed, the whole nine. So they need to be a part of the process if there are players that are automatically going to be a part of it. But if not, then you're going to have an interview process. You have to interview all of them one by one. After that is the tryout. The tryout is where you just have like a hour and a half session of something very simple that includes those details or some of those details that you laid out ahead of time and had a discussion with these people about, and if they had questions, they should ask it before this tryout session. They should have the opportunity to ask questions and things like that. And then you have your tryout. See how if this is a brand new group, then you're seeing how the players mesh. Who's working, who's really not working, what are some things that could change that could maybe make it work better if there's something that needs to be changed, or maybe somebody's just not working out with the group and you need to make a decision on, I don't think this is going to work out. I don't think this is going to fly. You need to, as a GM, here we go again, adjudicate, mediate, facilitate. And this is not personal. This is just preference. That's it. Hey, I don't think this is going to work. Or as you are discussing this, the player may be like, oh, you're going to have that? I'm not comfortable. I'm not down with that. Okay, I'll catch you on the next one, bro. You do not have to change everything up because one person didn't like it or was going to feel uncomfortable about the content that was going to be in there. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be belligerent about it. You can just agree to be like, yo, but we're going to have that, man. We're not changing that, so I'll catch you. Now, if you had like a whole bunch of people who were disagreeing about it, then you have to make decisions. Do you even want to play this game? Do you want to go in a different direction? But you have a discussion, an adult discussion, then you make adult decisions. You don't put X cards and things in there to kill the flow of what is supposed to happen at the table with the story. Because all of a sudden at that point, it's not really about the story anymore. And for an RPG Elite, it's always about the story. And you never want anything in there that's going to kill that. Now, for the RPG Elite, you would think after the tryout, what, it's done? No, it's not done. After that, you would give them a pre-generated character so for them to work together and see how these sessions are going to go. And then after that, if everything's cool, then they can have their own character. They can take whatever they gained from their pre-generated character, put it on their created character, and go from there. Then they're in, but only then are they in. And I have done this for years, and it has never failed me, not once. And there have been plenty of people who don't even get past the interview process. Most don't get past the interview process. Now I know what you're saying. Oh, that's gatekeeping. Yes, it is. Absolutely. I have no qualms about that. I have no obligation to play with you. And here it comes, y'all. And this is actually the big one. You have no obligations to play with me. Isn't that something? You can make a decision not to play with me. So if something is uncomfortable for you and you know that before even session 0 is even in the equation, then you can go, well, I tell you what, I'm just gonna abdicate and pull on out. And I can be like, okay, cool, I feel you. I'll catch you on the next one. It could be a totally cool process where adults just make adult decisions. But we don't want to do that because maybe the whole point of safety tools is to make sure that that doesn't happen. Maybe that is what's going down. Well, if you made it this far in the video, well, congratulations. I have to give you a pat on the back because I know I said a bunch of things in there that makes people feel uncomfortable, pretty much because of the way that I said it. But again, listen, even if I said it another way, somebody's going to be triggered. It's the way that it is. This is the culture in which we live. So let them cry, whine, moan, and complain. They are free to do that. But, you know, as a philosopher once said, I don't care. So if you got any value out of this video, y'all, then you can go ahead and do a brother a solid and crush the like button. Also, if you want to stick around after this video, wow. But anyway, if you still want to stick around, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. I come out with videos every Tuesday and Friday, God willing. The question of the vid though is this. So what is your process of not using safety tools so that you can have a more immersive and enjoyable tabletop RPG experience? What do you do so you don't have to go through all of that nonsense? Let us know down in the comments below. Let sense and logic prevail. All right, y'all. Well, that is going to do it for me. I'm going to have to get out of here. So that means your boy has got to do his snaggle puss.
So exit, stage left.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for going through this video. If you got a game this week, happy gaming. And I pray it's an RPG Elite session. And if you're putting something new together, use the adult covenant. It works every single time, and you never have to worry about using those lame safety tools ever. Not once. All right, that's it. I gotta go. Peace, 5,000 leaks. I'm out.